guiding light is all I know. Through wood and steel, through fire and lace, I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Is to a throig arcane. You laid the path before me. You guided every step. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead time each soar? We'll build the land, our hearts within. From dawn till dusk, I work, I strive. With your blessing, I'll survive. The loom, the forge, the sword, the grain in your name, I rise again. Got Bua, got Tolan, got Trio. In you lies strength, in you lies skill. Each victory, each talent, each trial. No task too great, no skill too small. Your gifts, dear goddess, guide us all. Into force. Without your light, we have no guide. But with your hand, our place abides. Raise the hammer, string the bow. Her gift is all I need to know. Through toil and trial, through heart and hand, her grace builds up this mighty land. Is the grass the dead? Our greatest deed, by the grace of the goddess we are free. We'll build the land, our hearts within. I'm blessed to walk within your grace. Blessed by her grace, forever, forever.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pax Dei and Steel. I had to take a few days off last week, and that was for personal reasons, and my apologies for not continuing our series on adaptation last week, but we're picking up right where we left off in episode 140. So, last time we began the new arc in the Art of Adaptation, in episode 138. So we open the door to this idea with a broad lens. What does it mean to adapt? How do ancient philosophers, modern thinkers, and our own MMORPG experiences teach us to thrive with change? Then in episode 139, we brought it home, zooming in on adaptation in our personal lives. We talked about everything from unexpected life twists, like last weekend, like losing a job or moving to a new city, or voluntary challenges like parenting or reinventing yourself later in life. And we did it through stories, studies, and ancient insights. We saw how personal adaptability isn't just a soft skill. It's survival. It's growth. And it's deeply human. tonight, we shift our gears to the professional realm: work, leadership, organizational change. How does adaptation look when it's tied to our livelihoods, to deadlines, and to industry revolutions? When it's not just about what quote unquote what you feel, but quote how you function, unquote. Well, from the down and as we play, I do have a little before we here. Let me finish the intro. From the downfall of Blockbuster to the rise of Microsoft, from the rise of Agile to the power of growth mindsets in hiring, we're going to explore how individuals and companies survive and evolve in a rapidly shifting world. Okay, now I wrote that nice intro, and as you can see, we're going swimming because we need to do a few things before the verse is reset to verse 3. I'm still not sure where I'm going to settle. I might just settle back in Gale in the Mary. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to adapt to but for the most part, tonight I'm basically I'm preparing for that shift. In basically, they're just going to take everything away, put it into our little register like they did in the verse 2 in September. They just put it in like a global inventory, if you will. Some things will go the way of the dodo, meaning they're developing out of the game. They're rebalancing, right? A lot of game mechanics are changing. A lot of the skills are going to change. A lot of the way you evolve, if you will change. So verse 3 is coming. They haven't given us a date yet, but there's a lot of stuff that they're going to implement. And one of the things they're not touching, and to their own admission, it's something they want to touch before launch of the game. However, they're not touching it just yet, is the skills, the craft skills, the professional skills, as I call them. So hopefully they don't, well, when they change those, when they start to rebalance them and change or modify those, we'll have a few level 1s back in our little holster. Until we launch the game as the version 1, we're still in early access, which means our skills don't get reset completely, only when balanced or balancing. So we're here to test all the levels, building, crafting, and such things like that. So it makes sense not to mess with the character's skill levels during early access as much as possible. However, with all that said, we're going to have to do that eventually, and when version 1 comes up, I will be getting the subscription. I've decided that. Well, it depends on how much they're doing with the subscription. If it's like $20, $25 a month, yeah, I'll do it. That's a little high for me, but yeah, I'll do that. They got to do a lot more with the game to really get it to the point where, like in EVE Online, there's a lot you get for the price of admission. We'll see though. All right, so that's a game update. So let's enter episode 140. Adaptation in the workplace. Navigating change at work is going to be our working title. I'm sure I'll put something else on the moniker. So in the professional realm, whether we're talking about individual careers or entire companies, adaptation can make the difference between success and failure. The business landscape is riddled with examples of those who thrived by embracing change and those who faltered by resisting. On a company level, history has given us some dramatic case studies. Take Blockbuster Video and Netflix. Blockbuster was the king of the movie rentals in the 1990s, with a store practically in every town, or multiple stores in every town. But when streaming and mail order rentals emerged, Blockbuster was slow to adapt its business model, right? Netflix, on the other hand, started in 1997 as a DVD by mail service and quickly embraced the shift to streaming video on demand in the 2000s. By the time Blockbuster tried to catch up, they launched their own DVD mail service and later a streaming option. But people had made the decision to go to Netflix. It was too late for Blockbuster. So customers, the habits, they changed, and Blockbuster's old model was obsolete. They didn't want to go to stores anymore. Blockbuster declared bankruptcy in 2010, while Netflix became a streaming and content production giant. The lesson: even a wildly successful business must continually adapt to new technologies and consumer behaviors, or risk losing it all. Another example, and just to add to the Netflix adaptability story, Netflix was a streaming model, right? And then they started in on production. Then they went full in on production. They basically made content for their own. They became a content provider in their providing other people's content. Netflix specials, Netflix original TV series and movies. So they were adapting, right? They were adapting for the changing or the demand from customers. Another classic example is Kodak. I'm sure Gen X and maybe millennials know about Kodak, the earlier millennials, but not really. Kodak really, well, here it is. It actually invented the digital camera, by the way. The digital camera censored technically in the 1970s, but the company feared that digital photography would eat into its film sales, so it held back from fully investing in digital technology. That reluctance to adapt proved fatal. As digital photography took off in the 2000s, Kodak film business collapsed. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Meanwhile, competitors that focused on digital imaging, like Canon and Sony, surged ahead. Kodak's downfall I'm just getting that position here. So Kodak's downfall is often cited in business schools as a cautionary tale of ignoring a major change in your industry. It's not that Kodak's leaders were unaware of the technology. Hell, they pioneered it. But they were too wedded to their current success to adapt their business model for the future. Business professor Clayton Christensen, in his book The Innovator's Dilemma, describes this phenomenon. Successful companies can fail precisely because they stick with what made them successful and hesitate to embrace disruptive innovations that initially might seem inferior or less profitable. It's an ironic twist of the fear of change can bring about the very failure one is afraid of. On the flip side, consider companies that have reinvented themselves successfully. Microsoft's a contemporary example. In the early 2010s, Microsoft was seen as some aging tech giant. They had missed the smartphone revolution in a big way. Windows was no longer the center of everyone's tech life, and innovative competitors like Apple and Google were outpacing them in consumer tech. Then Satya Nadella became CEO in 2014 and initiated a profound cultural and strategic shift. Nadella emphasized the importance of adaptability at every level of the company. He introduced the concept of the growth mindset into Microsoft's culture, an idea borrowed from Carol Dweck's research mentioned earlier in episode 138, I believe. Basically encouraging employees to be continual learners rather than defenders of the status quo. Nadella often says, quote, "Don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all," unquote. Under his leadership, Microsoft pivoted toward cloud computing, which literally was developing the Azure cloud platform into a powerhouse. They embraced open source software in ways that would have been unthinkable for the old Microsoft. And they even acquired GitHub, a major platform for open source code. They also de-emphasized their former, quote, Windows first, quote, unquote, mantra. If you didn't know, they had a Windows first mantra. And then they did that when they de-emphasized it, they basically placed into favor the ability to do cross-platform services. The result, Microsoft revitalized its relevance and business, becoming one of the most valuable companies in the world again. Nadella even wrote a book called Hit Refresh, which is all about transforming a company's culture and purpose. Essentially a manifesto on corporate adaptation. One core takeaway from Microsoft's story is that adaptation isn't just about adopting new tech, it's about changing the mindsets of the culture. Or by changing mindsets and the culture within the company. So, when leaders, let me think about this. When leaders foster an environment where trying new things is encouraged and failures are treated as learning opportunities, the whole organization becomes more agile. Microsoft went from a somewhat rigid, insular culture to a more wide open, experimental, where trying new things is encouraged and failures are treated as learning opportunities. The whole organization becomes more agile. Microsoft went from it's a powerful example of adaptation from the top down and inside out. For many organizations, one way to handle rapid change is to adopt frameworks that bake adaptability into the process. Agile methodologies in project management are a prime example. In traditional project management, often called the waterfall model, you might spend a long time planning a project in detail, then execute it in one big sequence. That approach assumes a relatively stable environment and clear requirements from start to finish. But in fast-changing industries like software, which is where Agile was born, requirements can evolve and new challenges can appear halfway through the project. Where am I going? There we go. I don't think anybody's around me. Agile, on the other hand, works in iterative cycles, like sprints and Scrum, actually. As a matter of fact, it's a component of Scrum now, I think, arguably. So teams set short-term goals, say what we can achieve in the next 2 weeks. They build something, then review and adjust for the next cycle. This means you're constantly adapting to a plan as you learn more or as the conditions change. The Agile Manifesto is written by software thought leaders. In 2001-ish, explicitly, Agile thinking has spread, or explicitly values responding to change over following a plan is the mantra, right? Although it started in software development, Agile thinking has spread to many fields and provides a structured way to stay flexible. It's not. You got to be careful with that Agile. There are certain things you will not be able to do with Agile, certain fields, certain projects, etc., etc. So use what I say. Software is perfect for it. That's why it was made. So some companies use Agile and related approaches like Lean Startup, a method popularized by Eric Ries. Which his book had the same name, Lean Startup, to experiment in small increments. So you experiment in small increments, you get the test results, and then you pivot quickly based on those test results. For example, a team at a startup might release a minimal version. Ow. I didn't think I got that close to that guy. Oh, I know why. Oh my god. I totally went the wrong way. That's funny. He won't catch up to me. Alright. Where are we? So, when a team, might launch that minimal version, to see how customers respond, that's called an adaptation test, literally. If the feedback indicates a new need or a flaw, they adapt the product in the next iteration. Contrast that with spending years building something only to find out the world has changed in the meantime. In short, these modern frameworks acknowledge that adaptation isn't a one-time thing, it's continuous. They institutionalize the idea of learning and changing course as you go. So, what does that say about you? So individual professionals, you also face the demand to adapt. The days of sticking with one company in a role for 40 years and then getting a gold watch at a retirement party, yeah, they're gone. They are long gone. So, there are a few notable exceptions. Don't get me wrong. Or a few exceptions. I wouldn't say that they might not be new. In many careers now, people have to be lifelong learners. Satya Nadella's mantra of being a learn-it-all rather than a know-it-all applies to all of us, not just to Microsoft employees. It's good advice. This might mean continuously updating your technical skill, like a marketer learning data analytics because digital marketing evolves, or a mechanic learning a service to service electric vehicles as they become more prevalent. It could also mean adapting to new ways of working. Think about how many people had to adapt to remote work and use the tools like Zoom, Slack, or Microsoft Teams in the last few years. Those who embrace the new tools often maintain productivity, and sometimes even found a new work-life balance as a perk. Those who resisted found themselves struggling until they adapted, or until the circumstances forced them to. Yeah, there we go. Gotta figure out where I'm going here. A fascinating concept discussed in workplaces these days is the adaptability quotient. I don't know if you've heard that corporate buzzword, adaptability quotient. AQ. It's akin to like IQ or EQ, right? While there isn't a single standardized AQ test, the idea behind AQ is that the individual's ability to adapt is perhaps one of the most important indicators of success in a fast-changing environment. Some HR experts and organizational psychologists suggest that when hiring, look for somebody who has a track record of learning a new skill or taking on new roles, which might be more important as important to their current skill set. In other words, who you could become is your given capacity to adapt. That makes sense. And that might matter more to you, more than who you are right now in terms of static credentials. This thinking represents a shift in the industries, valuing potential and agility as much as experience. It also means, as professionals, we should highlight our adaptability. For instance, in a job interview, you might share a story of how you pivoted during a project when things changed, or how you taught yourself something that was needed in a pinch. Those stories signal that you have a high AQ. However, there's always the however. Adaptation in the professional world. Let me look around. I think there we go. It's not just an individual affair, right? It's also about how your teams and leaders manage the process of change. Change can be stressful for employees. There's even a term for it. It's called change fatigue. I don't know if that's when I did the research. I was like, I didn't realize this existed. You could theorize about it, right? But yeah, change fatigue it's for when workers are worn out by constant shifts, like reorg after reorg, or the strategy of the month syndrome. I love those. Give me a 1 in the chat or 1 in the comments if you love that reorg after reorg. So love it. Or the strategy of the month is even better. I love that. We're about to finish the strategy. Oh, it's day 1 of the next month. Our strategy has changed. Okay, let me throw away all this work. What kind of work can I scavenge from what I've done all month? So this is where good leadership and communication come in, right? A leader who announces a big change in a company would say, let's say adopting a new technology platform or restructuring their organization. Well, they need to also address the human side, right? Not everybody's gonna see it. So what do you ask? You say, well, you have to, as a leader, tell people why is this change happening? How will this change benefit the mission or people in the organization? Wow, getting dizzy already. Look at that. So, and also, what's the plan for making it as smooth as possible? Here's another question. How will we support the people through it? A leader has to think about this thing. So here's another one. What about the vision on the other side of the change? It comes down to when employees understand the purpose and feel involved, or at least informed, they're more likely to buy in and adapt. When communication is poor, rumors and fear fill the void, the gaps, right? And people resist even more. So Harvard professor John Cotter, welcome back. No, kidding. Anyway, a guru of change management. He wrote about how most organizational change efforts fail because companies often focus on the technical changes, but then not the cultural ones. And give me a hallelujah in the comments if that resonates with you, especially in larger organizations, but it can happen in any organization for sure. In his book, Leading Change, Cotter outlines steps like establishing a sense of urgency so people can understand why change is needed. Creating a guiding coalition, a team to lead the change. Communicating a clear vision, empowering broad action, and anchoring new approaches in the company culture so the adaptation sticks. That's a huge one. The takeaway is that successful adaptation at scale requires both structural adjustments and attention to people's emotions and mindsets. So let's talk about the ethical dimension of adaptation at work, especially with technology accelerating changes. Consider automation and artificial intelligence. Let's say automation being robots and artificial intelligence, or just automation in general. Many businesses are adapting by using AI and robotics to do tasks that humans used to do. This can be a great for efficiency and innovation, but it often means some jobs change or literally disappear. For example, a factory might adapt by installing robots on the assembly line, which is good for production output, but it might displace many workers who used to do those tasks. It creates an ethical dilemma. How do we value progress versus the impact on people's livelihoods? Some companies approach this responsibly by retraining their workers for new roles. Perhaps those same robots need technicians or programmers, roles humans can fill with some training. There are programs where companies partner with educational institutions to help employees reskill or upskill, depending on the term, as their job roles evolve. Other times, unfortunately, companies might just do workforce reductions or lay off people without much support, which can create a lot of hardship and broader social issues. As a society, this is one of the big adaptation challenges we face, ensuring that we adapt with new technologies. We don't leave large groups of people behind without a lifeline. Thought leaders like Microsoft's president Brad Smith have talked about AI ethics and the need for a skills pivot, essentially a concerted effort to help workers adapt by learning new skills for jobs that technology will create. This might involve policies, solutions like better access to education and training, or corporate initiatives to transition workers into the new roles, rather than just simply cutting them off. But we did talk about personal adaptation, right? And if you were in this personal adaptation conversation, regardless of what the company does, you have the tools, and I gave you the tools of how to adapt if something like that happens. So when we talk about leaders providing these tools and trying to set people up for success, that is definitely a consideration on the corporate level. That's what we're talking about right now. But understand that on your personal level, you've got this locked down. You already have this in line with what you how you understand the you understood the change was coming, so you were already well on your way of adapting. So I'm not worried about anybody's listening to this podcast. But it would be nice if ethically corporations would consider, especially corporations considering when technology changes quickly, or that the technology that is changing jobs is somewhat complex, right? Not many, maybe somebody isn't a robotics technician, right? They were on the line, but it's not their cup of tea, and that's okay. But as what I'm saying is companies adapt. The people in the company shouldn't rely on the company. Let's also consider when not to adapt in business from a strategic perspective. This echoes what we said earlier about core values. A business might choose not to follow a certain trend if it conflicts with their brand identity, or if they believe it's a short-term fad. An example of this is Coca-Cola. Is very instructive. In 1985, Coca-Cola tried to adapt by changing tastes by introducing New Coke, a sweeter formula, and after some market research, suggested it would compete better with Pepsi. The public backlash was huge. Loyal customers were almost heartbroken that their beloved Coke was changed. Coca-Cola quickly learned that one of its strengths was the familiarity and the consistency of its flagship product. They brought back the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic within a few months and eventually phased out New Coke. In hindsight, that consistency was an asset. The company has since innovated in other ways, like diversifying into different beverages and adapting market strategies for new generations. But it has never again messed with the core formula of Coke. It was a lesson that not all change is improvement. Some change can erode strength. And to be fair, I couldn't tell the difference between Pepsi and Coke, so it didn't matter, New Coke or not. Another example is Apple, right? Or Apple Inc. Under Steve Jobs, it was known for not immediately adapting to certain industry trends if they didn't feel it fit their vision. When netbook laptops, a small cheap laptops, were all the rage for a short period, Apple didn't rush to make one. Instead, they focused on the upcoming iPad. Some thought Apple was missing the boat, but Jobs believed netbooks were a dead end and the tablets would be the future. And he was right. And for the next, oh boy, I didn't even see that. Come on, chat. Is anybody in there? No. That's all right. That's all right. Let me navigate this, and then we'll get back into the... There we go. All right. So also, Apple has been very consistent in design philosophy and user experience priority. They adapt by improving technology, but they haven't. But they have been relatively consistent about things like not fragmenting their product line too much. They're really consistent on that. Where am I? I thought there was one up here. Might be over here. Yeah, there it is. Get rid of all this crap. Okay. So, like they didn't add, like they're not adding features that don't meet their usability standards, even if competitors are. And the consistency has built a strong brand identity and user loyalty. Some may say stubbornness at times, but it slows how or I should say, it shows how a selective adaptation can serve a long-term vision. So balancing adaptation and consistency is tricky. Many businesses find success by having a clear core mission or vision, something that remains stable, while being very flexible in how they execute it as times change. Amazon's Jeff Bezos once explained that he frequently changed his tactics at Amazon, but the vision of being Earth's most customer-centric company was constant, steadfast. He said, quote, "We are stubborn on vision, we are flexible on details," end quote. That nicely encapsulates the idea. Hold on to the important constraints, or constants, like your mission, your values, your quality standards, but be willing to adapt everything else, like your products, your processes, and even your business model, to serve those constants in a changing world. Anybody see any, whoa, not that way. I think I got something coming over here. All right. Can anybody else think of any other companies that look to adaptation or need to adapt in order to survive? I can tell you almost every country that had done business in countries that have cheaper labor laws, needed adaptability, and still do. The landscape changes quickly, right? Well, anyway, let's sum up the professional side. Adaptation at work is happening on multiple levels. You have your personal adaptability of workers and leaders, and organizational adaptability of companies and industries. We see again and again that those who embrace change thoughtfully tend to come out ahead, whereas those who deny or avoid change will eventually face crisis and bankruptcy. Yet successful adaptation doesn't mean change for change's sake. It's strategic and balanced, with some steady anchors. Companies like Microsoft thrived by adapting the culture and technology, while companies like Kodak suffered by standing still. Individuals who keep learning stay relevant, while those who assume what they know now will always be enough might find themselves caught off guard by the next shift. And though all of this, the human element, and through all of this, I should say, the human element, how people feel and how people treat each other, how we treat each other during the change, cannot be ignored. Because at the end of the day, every organization is made up of people navigating that change together. That was that. I'm not going to say that was profound, but that was a big statement, right? I bet you everybody can relate to that statement. We're losing sight of our humanity. We're losing sight of how we react. Everything is an emergency. Everything is an agitator. Anything that makes us feel uncomfortable, we tend to admonish or get mad at, right? So, what did you learn tonight? That workplace, I think I've gone over, workplace adaptation isn't just about learning new tools or surviving layoffs. It's about culture mindset, leadership. It's all about knowing when to pivot and when to hold steady, and how to treat people with dignity during times of transformation. And whether you're a manager leading change or an employee weathering it, remember, adaptation isn't about perfection. It's about engagement. And just like MMORPGs like Pax Day, you don't level up by avoiding challenges. You level up by facing them, learning, and adapting your strategies. Next time, hopefully tomorrow, we'll wrap up the trilogy with a fan favorite, looking at MMORPGs. How do our in-game adventures mirror the adaptability we need in life? And what can we clutch, and what can clutch raids, surprise patches, and meta-breaking moments teach us about being flexible thinkers? Until then, we will continue mining. And I don't see anybody in the chat, so I don't have any questions. But I do want to say I am on X. I'm on LinkedIn. I am, of course, you can comment on the video here, and I'll respond. I also have a music channel, Elysian Echo. I'm working on another video, my latest video. My latest video is should be out next week sometime. I had to take a break last weekend because, like I was mentioning earlier, there was something I had to adapt and overcome. Anyway, check out the music. It's really good. It's a collaboration, really. It's me and Suno AI. Suno AI does all the instrumentation. I try to nudge it with instrumentation direction, vocal direction within the lyrics. I do a little bit of lyric modification. Suno doesn't write my songs. I actually go through ChatGPT, where I created a series of prompting that I can boast works really well. I highly recommend getting into prompt engineering. It's very necessary. However, yeah, some of the songs that I put out, I think just they are nailed. I actually came up with what they call conscientious rap. And it's a genre. I don't know if it's made up or not, but I have a song coming out with that as well. And I think people will enjoy it. It's really good. And Suno did really well in the rap genre. I think it did really, yeah, it did its service, for sure. Adaptability. Everything I've told you so far, we adapt, right? We overcome, we survive, we win. And if we don't win, we learn from not winning. Failure is okay. Oh, wow. I ran out of axe. No shit. That's a first. Nah, that's alright. I got enough. Anyway, with all that said and done, I'm gonna run back to the house. Verse 3, I'll probably do... I'll probably hold off on my philosophical learning podcasts for that episode, where verse 3, so I can show you how to choose a plot. I've done this in the past, where the best place to place it is, where you would want to move to, what you're looking for, how to navigate your home valleys, what maps would be best to move on, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that'll be an entire episode. I think everybody will have fun with it. It's I'll start building my house again. I'll probably want to design it this time a little bit better. I built a pretty cool one, but it's totally random, by the way. I knew I wanted 3 floors, but I fit every square peg in a round hole you possibly imagine in a house. So, and I'll be able to actually move the create the plots where they don't have a hole in the middle. That'll be nice, right? That will be nice. At any rate, so you don't have to watch me running home here. Oh, tonight's going to be a shorter episode. Like I said last week, I had a problem I needed to take care of, personal in nature, but it did leave me very tired. And knowing that I am tired, a 50-minute episode might work well tonight. So, with that said, we will be going over adaptation in online gaming, thriving in virtual worlds such as Pax Day, World of Warcraft, etc., and beyond. With all that said, the intro and outro music I did right, and I put it to AI, Suno AI, and they came out great. So I hope you enjoy those. Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and let's forge some steel minds through it. Every challenge life throws our way, or in your next quest. So we'll talk soon. If you're in Asia, have a good night, or a good day, excuse me. If you're in the Eastern Hemisphere, have a good boy, I just totally have a good day or have a good night, no matter where you are in the world. We'll talk tomorrow. Leave a comment. Let's talk on X.
With every step, a lesson learned. From fire's heat to the fields I've turned. The blade and bow, the forge and flame. I sharpen my skills, I play the game. Each day brings a challenge I must face. I train my hands with careful grace. From alchemy's art to the hunter's way, I'll find the strength to seize the day. I carve my path, I walk the line, in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil, I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive, in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready to fight. From the herbs I find to the iron I mold, each lesson learned is a story told. The stars above, they guide my hand. As I hone my craft, I take my stand. In the quiet woods, in the mountains chill, I push myself, I shape my will. With each new tool and every lore, I'm stronger now than I was before. I carve my path, I walk the line, in the shadow of the ancient sign. Through trial and toil, I'll find my way, learning more with each passing day. The skill of survival, the will to thrive, in a world where the strong survive. I face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. Forever tasted defeat, I felt the sting, but I rise again with each new spring. For knowledge is power, and wisdom the key. I'm forging my path, I'm breaking free. The skill of survival, the will to thrive. In a world where the strong survive, I'll face the night, I'll take the chance. I'm ready to fight, to learn to dance. For every strike and every fall, I'm building my strength, I'm standing tall. In the heart of the wild and the calm of the night, I gather my skills, I'm ready.